Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody who has ever yelled at a television like the coach could actually hear you. Welcome to the Stay Hot podcast. I'm Doug Fahrenheit, your official temperature checker. I tell you how hot today's show is going to be, but legally, the fire marshal has asked me to stop making predictions. Around here, we don't do lukewarm opinions. Lukewarm is for gas station coffee and relationships you're trying to quietly get out of. We're talking sports, culture, whatever's making headlines, and occasionally something boss man saw in a grocery store parking lot that somehow becomes a 25-minute conversation. We've got opinions, we've got arguments, we've got statistics that somebody definitely looked up, and several others that just feel statistically correct. Remember, confidence is just accuracy with better posture. So whether you're listening in the car, at work, at the gym, pretending that walking around with a water bottle counts as exercising, or sitting at home, avoiding whatever you told your spouse you'd get done today, you're in the right place. And if this is your first time listening, welcome aboard and subscribe to the hottest show on the internet. If you've been here before, hit that like button. So turn it up, get comfortable, and prepare yourself for takes hotter than a leather car seat in July. My name is Doug Fahrenheit. I measure temperature, not consequences. And here's your host, Mr. Stay Hot himself, Patrick Kelch.
Welcome to the Stay Hot podcast. I am your host, Patrick Kelch. R.I.P. to a true icon, Miss Dolly Parton, passed away today at 80 years of age. Kind of hit home when I heard the news. Always been a Dolly fan. I don't know how many times I've stumbled into the kitchen and poured myself a cup of ambition. Do that every morning. So, with that being said, R.I.P. to Dolly. Her family posted a good YouTube video, basically saying much love to all her supporters, and but it's always tough news when you get icons, legends, things like that pass away. But a lot of stuff going on. We'll talk more in detail, but calm down a little bit on the SEC's new rule. I'll tell you why you need to calm down on it here in a minute. And I'll tell you why I think the conferences are doing this. Obviously, the Big Ten focused more on football. The SEC mentioned all the pro sports, so we'll talk about that rule. The meeting the chancellors, presidents, ADs had, but I titled this show "Marked for March." 2 marks, 1 mission, and because I believe he makes that big of a difference with us and on our roster. But Big Blue Nation, welcome in. If you're new, hit that subscribe. If you're just returning, hit that like button. Tonight, Kentucky basketball is officially marked for March. That's right. We've got Mark Pope. We got Mark Mitchell. 2 marks, 1 mission. And somewhere in Kentucky, a man has already tattooed 2027 national champions on his calf. Sir, I admire the confidence. But maybe keep the receipt, because Mark Mitchell come to Kentucky has changed the conversation. You're talking about a proven physical 6'9" veteran who can score, rebound, defend multiple positions, and has been around college basketball long enough that I'm pretty sure he qualifies for AARP. Put Mitchell alongside Malachi Marino, Milan Momcilovic, add in Zoom Diallo, Alex Wilkins, and the depth of this roster that Mark Pope has assembled, and suddenly Kentucky fans, us, Big Blue Nation, are doing what Kentucky fans do best in August, planning a championship parade. We haven't played a game. We haven't even had Big Blue Madness. I don't even know if everybody has found their locker yet. And somebody's grandmother in Pikeville is already studying potential Elite 8 matchups. It's just different in Kentucky. The Kentucky basketball. But here's the thing. This roster gives us a legitimate reason to be excited. Mark Mitchell gives Pope another experienced, versatile weapon. And maybe, more importantly, another grown man. Because I've watched enough college basketball to know that when March arrives, sometimes you don't need another 5-star freshman. You need a dude who's been paying taxes for 3 years. And that's why this feels different. This is year 3 of Mark Pope, the most important year, his most talented team as a head coach. The honeymoon is over. We love the energy. We love the offense. We love a coach who looks like he'd run through Rupp Arena tunnel wall if somebody forgot to open the door. But now it's about March. Kentucky fans aren't asking for much. Just an SEC championship, a Final Four, a national championship, and preferably Louisville losing somewhere along the way. We're very reasonable people. So tonight we're breaking down what Mark Mitchell means to the roster, how all these pieces fit together, and the biggest question of all, is this finally the Mark Pope team built to make a serious run in March? Thank you to our sponsors, 14K Sports Media Production. I see them out there doing great work. Was at another school's media day again yesterday, getting content, shooting videos, editing videos. Thank you to them for all they do. Thank you to you guys that are showing up. Thank you to you all that have already hit that like button. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed. If you could, share the show. Reach out to all your fans, family, friends, whoever. Share the show with them. Because tonight, you know, I didn't really have in the cards, you know, what we were going to talk about, but sometimes you just got to adjust. All right, sometimes you just got to adjust. Let me shout out to our chat members here. All right, I have not been in the chat. Jay, what's up? Bruce, thanks for being here. David, stay hot. Clyde, Brian, David, R.I.P. Yeah, R.I.P. to Uncle Glenn. Also Dolly, that's right. Jake's here. Angel's here. Got the Razorback in the house. Ink, Glorious Bastards. I love that name. Thanks for being here. Wildcat Keeper, appreciate you being here. Stay hot. Yeah, Holly. Holly's sad about Dolly. It really is. But she was 80 years old, and, you know, I didn't realize she was that old. I knew she was getting up there, but I didn't realize she'd hit 80 yet. Travis, thanks for being here. Mark Madness, that's good too. I purposely didn't mention Mark Fox crash because I went with the marks that I felt like could make a difference in our team. No offense, Mark Fox. It's time for the reign of the blue M&Ms. That's right. I'm calm because I don't even know what the rule is. Good, Neil. Stay that way because sometimes it just sometimes confuses you more when you do know. Stay cool is the center of a seed in a cucumber. That's new. I've always said stay cool is the other side of the pillow because that's what I remember Stuart Scott saying on SportsCenter growing up. I was always a big Stuart Scott fan. Loved his one-liners. Kentucky fan base is built different. They are. Good and bad ways. We'll talk about that crash. Or I mean, Wildcat, I saw you mentioned crash. We'll talk about that. Neil stays on. Neil, I love the way you stay on top of things. I'd live a lot less stressful if I didn't know what was going on. There's a lot of things in question, Bruce. Hey, I can't help it, you know. I was going to go at 9:30, but it seems like some other podcasts have started taking the 9:30 time slot, so I adjusted because I don't want to you know, not that I don't want to compete, but I think a lot of our listeners are the same people. That's right, Clyde. I think if Greg Sankey and the SEC would stay hot, they wouldn't worry about any of this. Jack Pilgrim says he's eligible as of right now. Yeah, it's not really this new rule. We'll go over it. What do you do, man? I've tried to be as polite, courteous as I can. You know, I was kind of late to the game, so I took the time slots that nobody else was. Then I moved to 9:30, and what do you know? People start taking my time slots at 9:30. You know, so I bumped it up. And there's no rule that says they can or they can't. There's no rules that says I can't go at the same time as them, but we don't want Cade Tyson. Go Cats, Phil, go Cats. Crash, if you're actually Mark Fox, then I'll add you into it if you are. Amy, go Cats. Right. And listen, from here on forward, you know, I'm going to talk as if, you know, as of right now, I'm not going to lie. As of right now, I'm going to talk and act as if Mark Mitchell is a member of the Kentucky Wildcats, because to me, he is. The rule gets kind of confusing, though, because, you know, come to your screen if you can, or if you're just listening. SEC says, following meetings with the presidents, chancellors, and athletic directors of the Southeastern Conference, the SEC will enforce the following policy. So this is the policy that the SEC's, I guess, higher-ups, if you will, have agreed to adopt. Or this is the policy they're going to Ultra, thank you. Yes, Twitter is awful. If you don't know what it says and you don't have access to it, then don't even get on Twitter and try to figure it out, because you will get 25 different interpretations of the same law by 25 different people. So, but it says an SEC institution is not permitted to have an athlete on its roster who has, okay, one, previously declared for the NFL, NBA, or WNBA draft and did not appropriately withdraw. Kyle Tucker thought this would be the hiccup for Mark Mitchell, but actually it's not, because when you're a senior, you're automatically included in the draft, and you don't have to appropriately withdraw because you're a senior, you know? So there is no appropriate time to withdraw, or even any kind of paperwork that you have to fill out to withdraw. With that being said, so number one, I feel like doesn't apply to Mark Mitchell because he was a senior. He's in that class of 22. That's going to be the class that's left behind. You know, all the classes before him got the COVID year. All the classes after is going to get the 5 for 5. So he's kind of in that class there. He didn't necessarily declare for the NBA draft. He's automatically in the NBA draft because he was a senior last year at Missouri. Now, I will say this. I believe this all started and set in place over R.J. Lewis of LSU. I think this is when all this took place. Although I agree that it's gotten a little out of hand. You got NFL tight ends leaving the Browns to declare to go to LSU. You've got running backs that were with the Seattle Seahawks trying to go to Kentucky or Missouri. So I like the fact that they're trying to put in some kind of rule or policy if they're only going to enforce it. Number two, signed a contract with an NFL or other professional football league, NBA, G League, or WNBA or affiliate team. Now, this was one of the biggest issues that you saw being argued about on Twitter. Matt Jones even said that Mitchell had signed an Exhibit 10 contract. It was quite quickly debunked by, I can't think of their names. They were both college basketball analysts or worked for college basketball of some sort. One of them was John Rothstein, maybe. But he did not sign. He agreed in principle. Okay? He agreed in principle to an Exhibit 10, but he never signed the contract. And they've also, one of the questions specifically asked was the NBA Summer League. And I'll get to that with number 3. It says, it's been listed on an NFL or other professional football league, NBA G League, or WNBA or affiliate roster. He was not ever listed on a roster. You do not have to be on a roster or signed a contract to play in the Summer League. So this really doesn't, none of these 3 affect Mark Mitchell. It says the commissioner is authorized to enforce this expectation with penalties against member institutions. Now, and I'm just going to be quite honest. I think something needs to be done. I think with the Big Ten, the SEC, and I know the ACC is meeting tomorrow, so the ACC is going to come out with something similar, I would suggest, I would assume. But it's kind of like, to me, the NCAA's already lost amateur status the moment NIL took place. They started paying these guys millions and millions of dollars. Now, there's rules out there, or there's speculation and reasons out there that people believe this is happening. My belief is these guys that are rookies in a professional league that don't get guaranteed contracts want to come back to college because they can make more money at the collegiate level than they can at the professional level when they're not definitely why they're not allowing or not guaranteed contracts professionally. Now, Peanut has this question right here. Let me see. Somebody asked, and the NCAA actually, all right, John Rothstein says, the NCAA has sent me the following statement after I inquired about eligibility guidelines for international prospects during the 26-27 season. Because honestly, you could make a stronger case that Uzi is more of a pro than what Mark Mitchell was. All right, so here's what the reply that the NCAA sent John Rothstein regarding international players. It says, in April, the NCAA adopted changes to pre-enrollment eligibility requirements for incoming student athletes as part of the first phase of an overall update to NCAA eligibility rules. Those rules included update to professional league draft rules for prospects in line with those applied to current student athletes. Actual and necessary expenses continue to be a factor in a prospect's eligibility, but as part of the broader effort to update pre-enrollment rules, the NCAA also identified several international leagues in which participation by a prospect is likely to result in violations of NCAA rules and a loss of eligibility. The association is modernizing the rule book in several ways to ensure college sports are played by college athletes and not used as a fallback for professional athletes. And the age-based eligibility model is designed to address many member schools' concerns regarding eligibility. To me, that doesn't answer his question a whole lot. It just says basically they're trying to keep them in line with other college athletes. I agree. But if you look at international, Usman's been more of a pro than Mitchell in terms of what you would say pro. However, if we had that opportunity, I would by all means. As Peanut said a little bit earlier, the intra-conference rule that we talked about last show that Greg Sankey has mentioned, that he could enforce that. That I guess that is probably the biggest obstacle that Mark Mitchell will face. Ultimately, I think that he's going to be eligible. I think he's going to play for Kentucky, because here's what you look at. I think, and one thing that I've learned today was the court's TRO order pretty well protects Mark Mitchell. Okay, the court the court's decision kind of protects a lot of these guys that are in these lawsuits. So I think we're good as far as that goes. Who knows what the Grinch, Greg Sankey, will ultimately decide to do. His decision on this will determine whether or not he gets a Stay Hot Ops trading card, or if he just kind of drifts off into oblivion and not mentioned anymore. I did see an interesting comment on social media today where one, I think it was either a SEC president or someone involved in the SEC conference, says that this is Greg Sankey's Brendan Sorsby moment. And if you followed that moment with Brendan Sorsby from Texas Tech, the quarterback there, if you followed that moment, then you know what that reference is to. So obviously, I'm going to trudge on every single day as if Mark Mitchell's a part of our team until I hear otherwise. Now, I do worry a little bit with all the football talk about the SEC. I do worry a little bit about Alex Afari, although I didn't get a chance to read it. I did just see something on social media saying there is a way, or there could be a path for Alex Afari to be eligible. So I don't really know how that's all going to work out, or how that's all going to go. If you got a minute, go hit that like button real quick while I'm looking for a document that I'm going to upload here. I was looking for, I can't find it now, but I was looking for a document that I saw on Twitter earlier. It was kind of in a language, but, to kind of go on with what the NBA or the NCAA hasn't even decided if Exhibit 10s are considered a pro contract. But Jeff Goodman came out and said that Kentucky commit Mark Mitchell has not put pen to paper on any Exhibit 10 contract. So agreeing to one in principle and signing one are two different things. And I like the language that I read earlier about how you don't have to be, just because you play in the NBA Summer League doesn't mean that you're on a roster or have signed a contract in the NBA. So I don't really think that Mark Mitchell's in any kind of desperate situation to lose eligibility with what the SEC came up with today. I think the only thing that scares me a little bit is the intra-conference ruling. However, I do believe that if they wanted to fight it, Mark Mitchell, think about all the unknowns at the time. And honestly, when he got ruled eligible, he couldn't go back to Missouri. Missouri had already used all 15 roster spots. So, I think he could fight that, and I honestly think he would. But, please don't message me every single day and ask me what something means for Mark Mitchell. If you don't hear it, honestly, from KSR, On3, NCAA, a national media person, if you just heard it from Joe Blow on Twitter, don't take it for fact. We do that a lot as fans. If something, especially if something either fits or doesn't fit our narrative, we want to know if it's true right away. But right now, the court's ruling with the TRO, that seems to take precedence, and we have that right now as protection. So I'm trudging forward as if Mark Mitchell's our starting four. Okay? The NCAA is a total complete clown show at the present. Yeah, it is, and honestly, I'm not so sure it's going to get any better. People don't know this, Clyde, but I don't know if you consider yourself to be hot if you don't drink a Pepsi. My cousin Todd that's on here would disagree with me. He's a Coke fan. Right. And a lot of these guys, ultra, have a lot better chance with the state and conference stuff than they do the NCAA. And I saw today where Seth Trimble is trying to attach his name to the lawsuit in Louisville. If you follow Me Man Boy, a.k.a. Mark Maggard on Twitter, he kind of went back and forth with, I think it was a Louisville fan, obviously, basically saying that he can't just attach his name. The lawyer has to agree to add it, or, you can't just say, okay, I'm going to attach my name to that. There is a process. Listen, Will Wade, he signed a center from Israel today. He's going to... Will Wade is just, I'm just not going to lie, he's shady. If he's going to live in that gray zone, it's not black and white with him. He lives in that gray zone. He's always pushing the envelope. Afari case is being heard the 31st. Okay. And I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't think Afari should be eligible. I don't think the running back from Seattle should be eligible. But, like I said, common sense doesn't seem to be the ruler now. Therefore, what I'm going to say is, if it's legal, everybody should do it. I'm glad LSU has a team of semi-pro players because it has to weigh on the SEC that an entire team may have no players. To be quite honest with you, we'd probably run and clock LSU with the team they have. I don't care if they're semi-pro players or not. They're just not very good. I think Doug Sankey, I don't think he cares if he's the most hated person in the SEC. I think Doug Sankey wants to be remembered. Whether good or bad, I think he wants to be remembered. Keyshawn Hall did commit to St. John's. I'm curious to see how that'll all play out. But, yeah, I think that's a good spot for him. If anybody can handle him, I think Rick can. And I don't think Rick will put up with his nonsense if he's a locker room cancer. He's been in the game way too long to deal with those types. So, I don't want to sit here and harp on this all night because there's not much more else to say. We went through the ruling point by point, and I honestly think if you look at each one individually, Mark Mitchell has no reason to be worried about his eligibility. I don't believe nothing Joe Blow says. I don't blame you. Yeah, that guy's not very credible. I can tell you who's more credible than Joe Blow, and you already know.
There once was a reporter named Fahrenheit who's been chasing down stories day and night with an afro so mighty and a mustache just right. He grabs his microphone and says, "Stay hot tonight." He covered the courthouse, the weather, the crime, and swears he broke Watergate 3 separate times. The rookies bring smartphones, Doug brings a pen, can give him the shot. He's seasoned, he's stylish, he's giving all he's got. Doug Fahrenheit, old school, bold school, and always stays high.
Doug Fahrenheit is way more credible. Way more credible. All right. Yeah, I never really thought about that, but, I think I mentioned a few weeks ago and kind of forgot, but LSU, Kim Mulkey, Lane Kiffin, Will Wade. Damn, that's a rough bunch. That's a very, very accurate statement, Peanut Butter Posse. Yeah, because it seems like it's still going. Is it Doug Sankey or Greg Sankey? I've been calling him Greg. Is it Doug? See, that's how irrelevant the man is to me. He's about irrelevant to me as Meghan and Harry are. Yeah, September 5th, Youngstown State. We'll get to see the football cats. I plan on talking about them a little bit more Thursday and Sunday, but also I think I'm going to have a special guest one of those 2 days too. We're just trying to figure out the best day. I'll give you all a heads up when I find out for sure. Angel. Doug. Doug who? Oh, Doug Fahrenheit? Listen. I'm going to show y'all right now what it would look like. This is what it would look like if Mark Pope called Doug Fahrenheit and he said, "Get to Lexington, I got a job for you." Here's what it would look like. Doug don't ever move that quick when I tell him I got a story, but you tell him that he's got a job at Kentucky and he'll bust. He's the pro. He's the pro's pro. Absolutely. I kind of got offended last week when Dark Pope said that Elijah's sources were as real as Doug Fahrenheit. So I had to get video of Doug Fahrenheit actually moving or something. During the intro, his mouth was moving. He had hand gestures, facial expressions. And you just saw him running to the ring. That's when he was asked to be somebody's mystery tag team partner in a WWE pay-per-view. That was actually like 4 years ago. What looks worse for all the commissioners in NCAA is the years prior? And absolutely. And I think ultimately, Ultra, that is, I think, the strongest argument the class of 22 has. Because, no matter which way you look at it, it gives you the perception that the class of 22 is being screwed. And, from me looking in, I would make that same argument. Every class before me, or the few classes before me, got an extra year. Now the classes after me are getting an extra year, and I'm not. I think they got a strong argument. Listen, I coached a game down at Scott High in Northern Kentucky in Kenton County. They had a girl several years ago. Her name was Lauren Tibbs. She was 6'4". Ended up playing at Marquette, I believe. But the game we played them on their home court, about 15, 16 Division I coaches were in attendance, and Kim Mulkey was one of them. And I have to honestly say that, it's kind of an intimidating experience when you got 13 to 15 Division I women's head coaches sitting over there on the front row watching you coach a high school girls game, just wondering if they're talking about what poor decision I made, or, it's kind of an intimidating thing, but, it's an experience to say the least. I was wondering if you heard that. Yeah, they're going to Angel. They're going to. Big Ten kind of led the charge. SEC today, ACC tomorrow. I would look for all the Power Fives to jump on board. That's possible too. Never thought about the independents. Very possible. Good point, Angel. Yeah, I mean, probably right. Says all conferences are aligning on it because they're being pushed to by the NCAA because the NCAA is in comp. Right. I couldn't say it better. Um, a couple things. Yeah, I heard that story. I saw Mulkey's response as well, basically saying that she can't look at everybody's political affiliations or whatever. Um, she has to sign or go out and get the players that she feel like best that can help her roster. And for the most part, I agree with her. Um, but then again, part of me seems to think it may be a little insensitive. I don't know. Ultimately, Kim Mulkey gets hired to win basketball games. She's got to get the players who she feels gives her the best chance to win basketball games. So I also think that maybe the Ukrainian um, girl maybe should have went in and talked to Mulkey. Maybe she did. I didn't hear that if she did. Maybe she did afterwards. Maybe could have brought that girl in. Maybe they could have had a conversation. Maybe it could have been handled a little bit differently than her basically just leaving the team. Um, I think it's a. I guess that just kind of shows us that um, in that part of the world, Russia and Ukraine, um, probably a lot worse off than what we expect or what we'd imagine. Because to me, that would be like, um, me saying, and I know it's a little bit different, but me saying, okay, I'm going to go out and get this Republican to play on my basketball team and bring her in, then two Democrats quit because she's Republican. I mean, I think you can handle that better. Call them all in, talk to them. Maybe once those two girls sit down and talk it out, they may realize they got a lot more in common than you'd think. But I think what the problem was, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Crash, I think it's the Ukrainian girl had a father that's actually fighting the war. And I think that just maybe had been a little bit more than what she was ready to take on at that point. I don't think she should have quit. I think it may have been a little insensitive on Mulkey's part, but then again, I agree with what Mulkey said. I've got to get the best players at my disposal. I got to take the best players regardless of where they're from, what language they speak, what religion they practice, what political affiliation it is. But I hate it, but hopefully she can latch on to another team and find another spot. I don't want her college career to end, but I think it's kind of I don't know. It's kind of one of those situations that I see Mulkey's side of it. I really do. And ultimately, if I had my choice, I'd probably, being a coach, I'd probably side with Mulkey. But I think Mulkey could also be a little bit more in tune with, knowing she's Ukrainian, maybe have a conversation with her. And maybe they did. Maybe they did. I don't really know what all conversations were had, so right now I'm just repeating myself. But, as a coach, I would probably side with Mulkey. Right. I think that's a conversation they could have had at least, sit down in the same room, maybe have a mediator in there, say, hey, look, we've recruited you here to LSU because we believe that you both are capable of playing at this level. You're both capable of helping LSU win. Then after the conversations, if they don't think they can get along, then one of them can do what they see fit. I just hate it. I hate for anybody just to leave the team like that, but it is what it is. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the last show, then I forgot all about it. All right. Since we've had this conversation here recently with a lot of the Louisville fans, College Basketball Report put out their Power 40. Kentucky is ranked 12th. Louisville is 14th. And if you look, now this is since the Mark Mitchell signing, okay? If you look in the number 12 in the corner where UK is, in the corner it says +2. That means Kentucky was 14. They moved up 2 spots. Louisville here at 14 says +1. All right, that would make them at 15. So Kentucky would have been at 14, Louisville 15. So I'm assuming that even before the Mitchell signing was official, Kentucky was 1 spot ahead. And the only reason I think 12th is crash is because they're going to say, you know, we've not really seen this team play. Well, I would make that strong case. Yeah, Florida returned a lot of people, but hey, you ain't seen that team play yet either. Yeah, I know, Otis, we talked. That's what I led off the show with, Otis. I thought that was so important that it needed to be the first thing I led the show off with. I said that, there's been many times that I've stumbled into the kitchen and poured myself a cup of ambition. Yeah, that's the one thing that stuck out to me, WKRP, is that just by signing Jackson Kohler, BYU jumped up 19 spots. Now, here's what I'm going to tell you. BYU was pretty good before Kohler. They got who some people say could be the number 1 overall pick in that Branch kid. Then they got Richie Saunders, who is a really good player. We know what Colin Chandler. I didn't know Kohler would make 19-spot difference, but here's what I know. If they're number 11 and we're number 12 right now, then I like our spot. I honestly think we're top 10 for sure. I believe that. I don't think there's any chance Virginia could beat us right now if they played with 9 players on the floor. Illinois is tough. They're tough, man. They stayed the same. Florida, Duke, Illinois, UConn all stayed the same. Look at Texas Tech. They jumped up 24 spots. 24. And we got them in a scrimmage here in a month or two. I know you don't like them, Clyde, but they're good. They're probably the second best team. I'd say 1A, 1B if you want to know the truth. Well, let's talk about this right here. All right? Let's talk about this. Son says, I knew it, but Louisville thinking they were far better than the Cats. Yes, they were. But I want to point something out, and I want you all to tune in.
Here's what I'll say. When you go position by position, you're probably right. But if you just kind of look at the rosters, I think it's very clearly Kentucky's better. Their forwards, their 3 and their 4, are significantly better than Louisville's, whereas I think Louisville's guards are like, yeah, they're probably better.
But Louisville's defense, if you put a lineup out there of Trimble, Knox, and Flory, now the scoring's going to be tough because if he doesn't make shots, you're in trouble, right? But those 3 defensively, there's a big difference. Louisville could be really good defensively. Kentucky, they got a chance to be like average defensively, even with Mitchell.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's exactly what Kentucky's going to have to win games 95-90, and Louisville's probably going to have to win games in the 70s this year.
All right, so you heard at the beginning that they thought Kentucky's roster was better. Kentucky's forwards were significantly better. They think Louisville's guards are better, which Louisville does have some good cards. I'm not sold on Shellstad or whatever his name is, but the Asa Montgomery kid can play, and so can the Woolery or Woolley or whatever. But I don't think – I mean, you notice they didn't say significantly better. They said maybe better. I'll take Alex Wilkins and Zoom Diallo, but I think what holds that up or hiccups that is I think they're just so unsure about Alex Wilkins coming from somewhere like Furman. But, you know, I think, you know, going back to Virginia has the coaching – is Tony Bennett still their coach at Virginia? If that's who their coach, he does a really good job. Probably so, but we play them at Virginia. And I think what the biggest thing is going to be with Virginia is They want to play the game in the low 50s, maybe 60s. They want to play it defensive. If Kentucky's able to rebound, get out in transition, maybe force some turnovers, I could see Kentucky, Kentucky's going to be hard to guard in transition. The problem is, are they going to be able to rebound and get enough stops to get out in transition? I didn't like Goodman's comment there saying even with Mitchell, Kentucky could be average defensively. Pope and a lot of people that I've talked to says Mitchell's a very sound defender. Mitchell can hold his own as a defender. He makes Kentucky a lot better on the defensive side of the ball. But, we can speculate all day long about who's got better rosters, who, where, whose guards are better, whose forwards are better. But it's ultimately just going to be decided when they play. Until you've seen teams play, until we don't know. We seem to like the chemistry off the court for Kentucky, and that usually translates to on the court. We've not seen them yet with Mitchell as a part. I would think they're being Division I athletes that want to win or want to cement a legacy at Kentucky and be a part of that team. That wouldn't stop them. But, adding somebody new this late, I know Mark Maggard says he didn't expect it to be a problem. I can just tell you, I've been in situations similar to this at the high school level, and somebody new coming in, taking somebody's minutes who've been there a while, it doesn't always go over smoothly. Now, the Kentucky players may be a little bit more professional about it and not say thanks to the media and not make a big stink about it, but Clyde, I don't know what you're disagreeing with. Anthony Bennett is a better coach than Mark Pope. I don't know. I don't know if that's what you're doing, because your comment is when he says Virginia has a coaching advantage. Tony Bennett's won a national championship. I have no problem saying Tony Bennett's better than Pope, but I think Pope's roster is better than Tony Bennett's. I agree with that too, Anthony. I don't put much stock in what Douster or Jeff Goodman say. I mainly clip that because I've not seen them say too many positive things about Kentucky. But now that they've signed Mitchell, they seem to be glazing hard. I've seen Goodman take some shots at Kentucky that were just unnecessary. Yeah, I don't think Louisville's got the offensive weapons to outscore us unless we just have a bad shooting performance. But think about this. If our defense is average, and because our defense is average, we get in foul trouble, we give up free throws, we give up shots at the rim, those guys are Division I. They don't have to make a lot of threes. Yeah, I don't either. I'm going to start calling them the field of 76. Whoever suggested that one time on the show, I like it. I don't think any basketball player is sacred. We went through the list one by one of the SEC. It doesn't affect Mark Mitchell at all because, one, he never signed an Exhibit 10. Two, you don't have to be on a roster or signed a pro contract to play in the Summer League. So I don't really think it's going to be him. Anthony, Fiore or whatever is not a predicted lottery pick. Or last time I checked, he wasn't. I wouldn't say significantly better, but I think Fiore, Badunga. Now, here's what I will say. I think Fiore, Badunga, and Obina Akizi maybe combined might have the edge at center because I want to see what Frank Kepnong's going to do before if it's between Marino and Reese Potter, But I wouldn't say significantly on that. Marino's going to be a lottery pick next year. Jay says, yeah, I don't see why Texas Tech is so far up there. Yeah, I don't either. They signed somebody new this week, and I can't remember who they signed. Maybe that jumped them up. But, if we look at that again, and something else I noticed too was Gonzaga jumping up 11 spots. So Arkansas dropped 6 spots. Alabama dropped 5. Tennessee dropped 3. Michigan got beat. Did you see where Michigan got beat the other day by one of those national teams? Ryan Odom is UVA's coach. And, well, Bennett did retire. He's not there anymore. I'm not okay. Well, I'm not so sold that Ryan Odom has the edge on Pope. Let me look up Ryan Odom. I know who he is, but what has he ever done? He just got a massive new year. He's got extended through 31-32. Maybe the edge, but I wouldn't say it's significant edge. Tony Bennett, I would have gave it to you. Yeah, I don't like Goodman either. Listen, the more film I've watched of Zoom, every time I watch film of Zoom, I pick up something new and different about him that I like. I think he's a really heady point guard that can get to the rim. He's really strong. But I'm telling you all, go watch him. If you get a chance to watch, I don't know specifically what sites or whatever, but if you get a chance to specifically watch him in pick and roll situations, his reads out of the pick and roll are spot on. They're spot on. I honestly think our turnovers will be a lot less this year, which they should be with Zoom and Alex Wilkins both having such a high assist to turnover rate. The 15 we got is who's on our team. Afio. Higher portal class, higher power ranking. See, Anthony, this is how we know we can't take you serious. Last year's done with. Anthony, our record against Louisville's like 30-some and 19. I don't even know if it should be, or 12. I don't even know if it should be considered a rivalry anymore. You guys very rarely win. You got to win more than once every 3 or 4 years. What was Patino's record against Cal? And he's 1-1 against Pope, a guy that Kentucky once fired, and the great John Calipari is 1-1. Seriously, can't take you all serious when you always want to bring up the past. Locker room does not equal public. I agree with that, Sacred. I agree with that. And that's what I'm saying. At the high school level, that's one of the things we try to teach is, what goes on in this locker room stays in this locker room. The privacy of this locker room. I'm talking about even, what you all do when I'm not around. Don't be going home and telling your moms, your dads, blah, blah, blah. But there's something about the sanctity of a locker room that I wish everybody got a chance to experience. But I think, not all Division I athletes are good about keeping the stuff inside the locker room. Some will mention it to the media, some will post it on social media. And if you post something on social media for a second, it's already a screenshot. You can delete it in 3 seconds, and somebody's already got the screenshot. Correct. Yeah, I got him now. Clyde, you're so blind. And it's one thing to be a Kentucky fan, but it's also one thing to be realistic. Malachi will not make Flory Bidunga look like a little man or a little boy. I'm glad you're optimistic, and I'm glad you like Kentucky, but quit seeing things you're wearing rose-colored glasses. One of the things you always say in the chat is I'm being realistic. I expect the same from you all. I wish I would have heard that. How'd they respond to that? How'd they respond? Yeah, I got you, Phil. I thought Tony Bennett had retired years ago, but that's my old brain fart coming in. You're talking about Murph, Money Murph or something. But I can tell you what I did see. He did a video tonight and put a bunch of stuff in the background, Kentucky fans and how they're treating him. And I don't care who the person is or what team they root for. Some of y'all just need to, some of these guys just need to grow up. You all take stuff way too serious. I will say this, like when Mark Mitchell signed with Kentucky, the two fan bases that were the most vocal were Louisville and Louisville. Arkansas was a distant third behind Louisville's whole fan base because I caught it all. I mean, like, for some reason they were all showing up. But yeah, but the same day that Mark Mitchell, they also got Slim Jesus or Murkinen or whatever his name is. He also became eligible. So they had some good news on their side, so they didn't gripe near as long. And I wouldn't even say I disagree with this statement. Marino's a sophomore. How many years has Fiore played now? What is this, like his third or fourth year? Marino's a young sophomore. But you're right. The draft is based on potential. You're right. Marino, he has to. And that's the one thing that, in the SEC, that's what scares me about Usman. He could be a little fragile. I don't know. We'll see. You're not supposed to call me out, Anthony. I'm the host of the show. I'm the host of the show. Anthony, I'm the host. You're not supposed to call me out. But because I like you, I'll let it slide this time. Quit calling me out. Okay, well, he took it better than I thought he would. Was Goodman on there too? I wish you'd called Goodman out. Stay hot. Anthony Trimble, who's that? Oh, you're talking to Anthony saying Seth Trimble. Yeah, I agree. I think they're all going to be eligible. So I guess it'll look at, did Trimble sign an Exhibit 10 or something? Honestly, Anthony, I think they all will be. I think they're trying to get this football stuff under wraps. And once again, I think Will Wade's at the center of a lot of this. So, yeah, I think they all will be. Yes. Yeah, he doesn't really, Anthony, we looked at this right here, and this is something you can probably look at for Trimble. It says previously declared for a professional draft. If you were a senior, you don't have to declare for the draft. You're automatically entered. And then you don't have to withdraw because technically seniors aren't allowed to come back. But since this 5 for 5's in effect, he wouldn't have had to. 2 says signed a contract. He agreed to an Exhibit 10, but he never signed one. And then the third one says be listed on a roster. Well, I found out today that you could be listed on you could play NBA Summer League and not be on a roster or sign a contract. So he doesn't really meet this criteria. The one I think is going to give him fits is the interconference transfer stuff. Me, I prefer the number 1 portal class. I'm always going to be pro portal now because these guys are older. They've proven they can play at this level. How many freshmen have you seen be really, 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 really good high school players that when they come to college, they have growing pains, they struggle a little bit? Look, DJ Wagner at one point in time, they were saying could be the number 1 NBA draft pick. He's still in college. I'd much rather have the portal just for the experience and the veterans. They don't know what they're talking about on Twitter. I agree. I try to pick and choose who I listen to on Twitter, but everybody's got an opinion when you're online. He's a junior this year. Yeah, but he played 2 years at Kansas? The kid's good. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's good. I think he gets unfair criticism saying that he's not a good 5 because of his size. Well, he handled his own in the Big 12 at 6'7", 6'8", whatever he is, 6'9". And some of these people right here are acting like Badunga's not any good. Was sure wanting him when Kentucky was going after him. Now, if we could get both, I'd take that, but I like it. I like it. You can only choose one. I would say portal, huh? Goodman was also hosting KSR. I specifically didn't listen that day because I'm not a Goodman fan. I wish I would have now. But and I'll be honest with you, Chris, this may be I can't say it's going to be my favorite team of all time in Kentucky because then that would be a lie and I'd probably be forgetting about specific teams. But I honestly think that this year's team is going to be one of my top 5 favorites when it's all said and done. I think the pieces fit well together. They got a lot of likable kids. I love how well they're gelling off the floor. I love those videos when they went to the lake. And when you get along off the floor, 99.9% of the time it translates to how well they play on the floor. When you like somebody outside of the gym and you get close with them, then you're willing to lay your rear end on the line for them during a basketball game. That loose ball that you're diving for means a little bit more. I've not really kept up with their roster or their team. I'm thinking this whole thing is going, this is all in place because of the RJ Louise, that guy that, just became ineligible for LSU. If he just had an agreement and he didn't sign, then he would definitely meet number 2. But was he a senior last year? Did he declare for the draft? See, I don't know. If he didn't declare for the draft or whatever. Oh, there's Mark. Hey, man, thanks for coming by. I think the TRO issued by the Kentucky judge will cover the SEC interconference. I hope so. I'd read that somewhere, but when I read it online, I didn't really know the person stating it, so I didn't put no stock into it. I did see where the TRO that was issued by the court, does kind of protect them a lot with the language being used and stuff. It does kind of protect them. So, well, thanks for sharing that. I wouldn't know, this is all new to me. Finally, something we can agree on, our dislike for Goodman. Absolutely. Listen, Moneyline Murphy knows UK has a huge fan base. He's just trying to push UK's fans' buttons. He's trying to make money off us. Ignore him, block him. Don't let him push your buttons and get rich. Honestly, I don't follow him or whatever. He pops up occasionally on my timeline. I have seen a couple of his videos. I just laugh. I think he does a good job of what he's doing, of playing kind of that heel, that bad guy, so to speak. Obviously, he does have some Louisville fandom, but he kind of cracks me up because I think some of the stuff he says are just outrageously funny. The conference rule was put into place when they had September portal. Well, if you want to make the case, too, a lot of these guys that are fighting this, they didn't get a chance. They didn't really get a chance to enter the portal because, they didn't really know. Trimble never signed it. Well, that goes in his favor then. Isn't that funny how none of them signed now? I know Kohler didn't either. I'm still on my same one, Brian. I know. I do like a one Pepsi podcast. When the Pepsi's empty, I end the show. I still got some. I don't think we ever offered him, but we were interested. And and I know when I say we, I'm not necessarily talking about the team. I know that a lot of the Kentucky fan base, when he put his name in the portal, they were, please Pope, please Pope, please Pope, Right, I agree. Looking at past seasons, a great offense is better than a great defense. Look at Houston, lots of wins, but no championships. I think a good offense beats a good defense. I was standing next to Rodney Clark's dad talking when Goodman walked up and started telling him to not send his kid to UK. Oh, I remember Rodney Clark, yeah. He was a guard in the SEC. Goodman walked up and told his dad, don't send your kid to UK. Wow. What a hater. What a hater. He just did. Hey, I told you we're marked for March. We're marked for March. Mark Pope, Mark Mitchell, Mark Maggard. Mark Maggard's ahead of Mark Fox on my list. I know my mom lives in Idaho and she's 2 hours behind. She lives in Gooding, Idaho. Let him host the show from Eddyville. Hey, I know what I was going to ask you all. I don't get to see. We don't get to see. Or I don't get to see or watch that Sleepers podcast much. Are those Louisville guys? Are they Kentucky guys? Are they? Goodman needs a car. I got his name down. Goodman's getting one, for no doubt. And it wasn't a short conversation. He spent 10 minutes digging in. Conley was cringing because he knew I was hearing it. Yeah, that would be tough. You should have probably stepped in and probably introduced yourself, although he might know who you are. He may have said it because he knew you were there covering Kentucky. I just said that Mark Magger was ahead of you, Mark Fox. Yeah, I've heard of Rupert. Yeah. They are Michigan and Michigan State guys. It'd be hard not to be a Michigan guy after last year, but yeah. Oh, you're talking about the sleeper guys. Okay. Well, I've seen them do a lot of stuff on Kentucky. Obviously, Kentucky's getting them clicks, but I also thought I saw where they were doing stuff, some pro Louisville stuff today, or one day. He knew who I was. He just didn't see me. Connolly's a big dude. All right. Everybody's telling me now that they're Michigan and Michigan State guys. Okay. What is my favorite Dolly Parton movie? Oh man, I have to give me something. I like the Sleepers guys personality wise, but man, they have such horrible UK takes that it makes me cringe. And I think that's what somebody in my chat told me one day. I can't remember if it was Jake or who it was, but I wouldn't necessarily call my mom. She's not anti-Kentucky by any stretch of the imagination. She's not a sports-minded person whatsoever. She might fill out a bracket, but if you looked at her bracket, you would ask if she filled it out with her eyes closed. But she's not really a huge sports fan. She'll watch Kentucky. She'll watch whoever. She likes Boise State football, obviously. 9 to 5 was probably at the top of my list just because I like to sing the song. I'm telling you what, it's easy clickbait when you talk about Kentucky. I'm telling you, I've done high school basketball the first 2 years, and Kentucky is fanatical about their high school basketball. And I'd get maybe 200-300 people. You know, I mentioned Kentucky once in a podcast, and it's minimum 600-700. I love Jolene. I did. I like that song, yeah. Yeah, I've noticed that too. He still doesn't have either one. Still doesn't have either one close to his top 10. Best Little Whorehouse in Texas. That was a good movie. Hey, don't tell people they get stuff wrong during their podcast. Other people call them out. That's what needs to happen. I play for a Dolly tribute show out in Nashville. We travel about 5 states. Oh, that's got to be cool. That's got to be cool. This is something, speaking of Louisville fans today, or not today, but this new era at Winged Era, obviously he's a Louisville fan. He's got a Louisville uniform on, or somebody's got a Louisville uniform on. But he basically screenshots our roster that is our bench. There's 10 guys there, 10 guys coming off the bench. So he screenshots everybody but our starting 5, and he says, shit looks like a Morehead State roster. And this was the first comment. And I got a chuckle out of that. it just seems like a lot of these Louisville fans are the gift that keep on giving. They constantly say things and do things that just kind of, well, that looks like a Morehead State roster. And very first comment was the box score or whatever. Not the box score, but the score of the NCAA game. So I thought that was kind of funny. Before I get into what I really want to do tonight, yeah, I thought it was great, Otis. I thought it just worked perfect. And sometimes, people set you up for alley-oops or home runs like that are just too easy. So when I saw that, of course, I had to screen grab that. It's like, I got to share that. Oh, come on. What are we doing here? Also, with football season coming right around the corner, I will go ahead and say, I don't know if you have seen it or not, but we talked about this way back when, but I thought with the first home game being about a week away that we would talk about it again just for those of you that like to go. Remember, they decreased the prices at the concession stand. I thought this was great news. It seems like for the most part, a lot of the prices were significantly cut. I mean, a hot dog going from 5 to 3, that means I can pretty well get 2 for the price of 1 almost. Pretzels, nachos, popcorn only dropped $1. Chicken basket dropped $3. A 20-ounce soda and water went from $7 to $4. $4 is a lot closer to what you're going to pay in store. Still a little expensive, but obviously the big difference there is $10 for a domestic can of beer is now just $5. So obviously they want you drinking, getting rowdy, making that atmosphere. And speaking of atmosphere, did you see Louis Uvo? They say the best defensive center since whoever coming out of high school. It had been rumored that he would be visiting during Big Blue Madness, which he still might. But he's going to be here September 12th for that Alabama game. I think that is the perfect weekend to visit. Perfect weekend to visit because I expect Kroger Field to be rocking that day. You're not going to get a very good gauge of a football atmosphere at like a Youngstown State. So, with that being said, Louis Uvo will be on campus. So if you're going to the Alabama game, stop down and see Louis Uvo and give him the ha-ha. That's what he says when he blocks your shot. So find him, get your picture with him, give him the best atmosphere possible. Source Blue. Come on, man. Why are you calling me out? Why are you calling me out? Source. Thought we were pals, man. MJ is this girl on Twitter, Kentucky fan, pretty attractive. She put up a boyfriend application on Twitter, said she needed someone to attend UK football games with. And so I just commented with the emoji where I was raising my hand. So, nope, they're using Grove Street from what I've heard, Clyde, Grove Street. And I think they need to, especially for now. I'm not saying they shouldn't change or adapt or maybe do a different song the next home game, but I think right now that's what everybody knows. So that's probably going to get the most reactions entering the fourth quarter. Don't know how to explain it to you, Crash, but she's on Twitter. But Yeah, but you come in here calling me out in front of my friends. Listen, that's the only air ball I've ever shot was with her. She didn't even like my comment, I don't think. She does follow me on Twitter, but she doesn't interact with me much, so no, I'm not pulling her Twitter up. I don't want you all stalking her, then it coming back to me. I'm just messing with you. Do you message her? I mean, she has talked with me through Messenger, but it's been about Kentucky. She's a very knowledgeable Kentucky fan. I ain't got nothing, WKRP. What swagger I did have, I've lost. Yeah, it was. I got a kick out of it. But I was going through today talking just on my lunch break, and I was sitting there thinking about, the UK depth chart, because that tends to be a popular topic of conversation with, I've seen it, last 3 or 4 days, not only talking, who's starting, what's our depth chart, blah, blah, blah. Well, I've made kind of a, let me explain what I did here. If you disagree, you can tell me and we can do some switching around. But like for Zoom and Wilkins and Mason Williams and Drone, I kind of put the arrows back and forth because I think those guards can play both the 1 and 2. You see what I'm saying? And I know there's other players on our team that can play multiple positions, but, I got Zion Hawthorne all the way down at the 3rd string point guard, but I think they would go through Alex Wilkins and Drone Morton before getting to Zion. So that's why I put the arrows there. I don't want it to look like I'm saying he's our 3rd string point guard, because obviously I don't think that. I think, we may see Alex and Drone at the 1 some as well. I put Braden Hawthorne kind of in the middle because I think he can play the 2 and the 3. I think he'll probably play a lot of both. The 3, I got Milan and Cam. I've got Noah somewhere in the middle between the 3 and the 4. I have heard some people say that they wouldn't be shocked if Noah played some at the 2. So, you could very easily move him over to the 2. Or, kind of put him in the middle with Hawthorne at the 2-3. But the one thing about Trent that I think may help him play some is I think he's capable of playing 2, 3, and 4. Kind of maybe some flexibility there. Then at the 4, obviously Mitchell will start. It was Justin McBride and Usman. I don't really know who will come out here from experience. I think McBride probably early in the season will be the backup. Usman may even play some at the 3. He shoots the ball well enough from the perimeter to play the 3. Don't know if he's big enough to defend the 4. And then obviously at the 5, we got Marino, Frank, and Potter. And this is just me just kind of playing around. I don't know if what positions they're going to play or whatever. Otis says Pope told everybody he's going to be playing the 2. That's probably his natural position. I don't think he's ahead of Hawthorne at the 2. I mean, honestly, I think he'd probably get more playing time at the 3 or 4 maybe than the 2. I could be wrong. What do you all think? Or do you play Hawthorne more at the 3 then? I thought Hawthorne wanted the 2. Is that how you would do it then? I'm almost certain that Hawthorne can't play the 4. So I seriously think we got 2 at every position and 3 at some. I like our depth. I like what we're capable of doing. I think there's even a world where we could go small. maybe McBride at the 5. Otis, if Hawthorne plays the 2, that's probably going to be less minutes for Trent. Maybe Trent outplays Hawthorne. I don't know. I get mixed reviews on Hawthorne. Some people tell me he's playing really well. Other people tell me he's not been, overwhelming. I don't really know where he's at right now. There's some people on Twitter thinks he's starting at the 2 over Alex, and that's just not happening. I guess that's one thing we'll be able to see. And that's one of the reasons why I like the scrimmage against Texas Tech. Texas Tech will probably be better than all of our non-conference opponents. Honestly, especially if have moved up 20-some spots or whatever. So I don't know. I guess it's to be determined, but I think a good scrimmage like Texas Tech, where you can coach that game as if it's a Virginia, a Louisville, a Kansas, a good team, to where I had him as the backup point guard, Otis. But I also think Mason Williams could play the 2 if Zoom's in the game, or, I think we're going to see 2 point guards on the floor a lot. But with that being said as well, Texas Tech is going to help us learn a lot about us. And in my eyes, when you can go into a scrimmage and learn, that's the best kind of scrimmage. The score doesn't matter. Win or lose. We saw what happened when we did to Purdue last year. But I had a coach tell me one time, and I'm going to share this quote with you. Actually, I was an assistant coach, and he was the head coach. And we had just lost a game to a team we should have beat. And he kind of gave the quote, "We're not as bad as you think we are. We're not as good as you think we are, but we're not far from either." And I think that's true. One game will never, ever tell you how bad you are. One game will never, ever tell you how good you are. But it may give you an indication that you're, on any given night, you're not far from either. Based on how well you play. Play really, really good, you can be really, really good. You play really, really bad, you can be really, really bad. I really like, not going to lie, I think overall what Doug Fahrenheit said at the very beginning, when you mix in Milan, Marino with Mitchell, and you throw in Zoom and Alex, those 5 plus the depth that Mark Pope has assembled with the roster, it's been a really good offseason for Kentucky. So hats off to Doug Fahrenheit for a job well done. Now, we mentioned that Louis Uvwo will be here on September 12th. The number 2 overall recruit in the class of 27 is Aiden Diggs. He's a 5-star, and Kentucky is in his final 5. Also in that final 5 with Kentucky is Duke, Kansas, Arizona, and North Carolina. So he's got all 5 of the only one not on there, I guess, would be UConn maybe. But with that being said, he's got pretty much the who's who of NCAA in his top 5. But I don't know if you all pay for Joe Tipton's on 3 page. I don't know if you do or not, but if you do, he did predict where he thinks he'll end up. I can't tell you what that is because I don't pay for the site. So I can't tell you what he said. If somebody else has that and pays for it, you might be able to go on and say it and maybe bring it back to us and let us know. But I've not seen anybody talk about it. I hope. For some reason, I don't believe you, but I hope. I hope we just take it with the grain of salt that it is, that it doesn't mean a whole lot, because we got overhyped against Purdue last year, and I think it really cost some of our fans and our expectations to shoot up. And when we did do that, I think it made it that more disappointing when we didn't play well. So we could beat Duke by 20 and Goodman would find something to gripe about, most likely. They're definitely, I think, I don't necessarily know if they're told, because I think Stephen A. Smith really does hate the Cowboys, and I think Goodman really does hate on Kentucky, but it seems like a national media wouldn't pay people to hate, you know. But hating Kentucky or loving Kentucky, they both get you clicks, so. So yeah, like I said, this is according to some of the people in the SEC, this is Sankey's Brennan Sorsby moment. That it did. I give you that 100%. Good. I'd love to see his. I'd love to see his tears. Not for sure if Mark's still in here or not. He comes and goes. There was something I was gonna say. Can't remember what it was now. Holly, are you still in here? All right, Holly, there you are. You commented right before. I don't know if you even heard me say it yet. But I don't know if you're behind or I don't know if you're here. But I think Hillbilly Crime's going to come on with me one day this week or next week, talk about some of the cases in Kentucky to do with true crime. I thought we had a pretty good conversation last week. Seemed to be we had quite a few people interested in that. Maybe she can bring some of her 26,000 subscribers over to the channel, but I talked to her. I mean, I know her, so I talked to her quite a bit through DM, and I've had several conversations with her. So I just reached out and asked her yesterday if she'd be willing to come on the show, and she said yeah. So we're gonna try to find a date that works, obviously, for both of us. But she did say she'd love to do it, so. I think that'd be a fun, you know, with not much Kentucky stuff, basketball going on or whatever. We got football coming up. There's probably only so much you can say about UK football and Youngstown State. Although we are going to spend some time talking about Youngstown State. If she comes on Thursday, then we'll start football on Sunday. If she comes on Sunday, we'll start probably on Thursday. So, okay, so you have Tipton's pay site or On Three's pay site. Says Tipton predicts that Aiden Diggs will end up at Arizona. That to me is better than Duke. I'm with you, Source Blue. I'm with you. I was looking for. All right, I'll share this with you because Matt Jones just put on Twitter. It's actually from Alex Safari's lawyer. It's a statement on his eligibility, so this may clear up some things that we don't know. Okay, this is from Alex Safari's lawyer. If it's small, I'll read it to you. It says, as we continue the fight for Alex Safari Jr.'s eligibility to play college football this year, there have been some statements made in the public discourse that need clarification. number one says different cases, different issues. The federal case Wisney versus NCAA, currently being litigated in the 10th Circuit, is based on claims of antitrust violations. While Alex originally enjoyed blanket protection stemming from that case, the issues currently being litigated before Jefferson Circuit Jefferson Circuit Court are grounded in Kentucky state law, which is completely different. Number two says Alex is not a professional athlete. Mr. Afari is not a professional athlete, nor has he ever been. Alex was not drafted, did not sign a professional contract, and was never on a professional roster. Okay. I would have been wrong about that. We remain confident in Alex's eligibility status in the midst of any of the proposed conference rule changes. And the third one says not special treatment, equal treatment. And I think more of the players are going to latch on to this philosophy here of no special treatment, just equal treatment. And that all goes back to the classes before 22 and the classes after. It says Alex is not asking for special treatment. He is asking for the same opportunity being afforded to other similarly situated athletes across the country. We are grateful to the court for allowing us the opportunity to address these issues in an expedited fashion and look forward to Monday's court hearing. And it has his attorneys at the bottom: Abe Mashney from Mashney Law, Tripp Redford from Miller, Griffin, and Marks, and Todd Forrester from Miller, Griffin, and Marks. So if you just look at, if you just look at the statement about not being a pro athlete, not ever signing a pro contract, never being on a team, see, I thought he had. So that would tell me he's got a legit case for fifth-year eligibility. Kevin Sweeney of College Basketball Central, here's what he says about Mark Mitchell. He did not sign it. He agreed in principle, but like almost all Exhibit 10s, did not sign prior to Summer League. So, yeah, Holly, I think so. Here in a minute, I don't know how many of you all have ever seen. Have you all seen the video of the sheriff entering the judge's chambers and opening fire? There's been some movement in that case recently. They just did a change of venue. I think it's going to be tried in Leslie County. So with that being said, if you've not seen the video, I will show you the video just to kind of give you a heads up on what she's going to be talking about and why we've reached this point. But before I do, tell me why we've got 80 people in here, but only 27 likes. Put your DNA on that like button while I go find the video. If you're new and this is your first time in the room, hit that subscribe button. I've bumped up to 859. Whoever the next subscriber is, that is 860. But he didn't know to enter the portal, Anthony, because he was a senior. He didn't know they were going to grant a fifth year. So, I mean, why would you think about a specific timeline if you just didn't know? And Mark Maggard says that the interconference transfer rule is blanketed by the order of the court, so that shouldn't even be a problem. You're good, Brian. I know, Holly, we got to get to 1,000, but I think most of the people that are in here are the ones in here every night. They probably already subscribe. All right, so I agree, Crash. I agree. Now, I'm going to show you this video just because she's going to be on here probably Thursday or Sunday. And if you are not familiar with what went on in Letcher County, this is, some of you are probably neighboring counties to Letcher. Some of you may be even from Letcher. I know when Icon's in here, he said he's about 20 miles from this. This all happened at the Whitesburg. You've probably heard of Whitesburg. Letcher County Central, Whitesburg, all those places down in there. It's all in the same area. But this happened in the courthouse. This is the Kentucky. This is a sheriff and a judge. There's a lot of things I want to point out, but, if you've never seen this, just kind of, all right, first of all, this is the judge's chambers. You got the judge sitting down, smoking a cigarette in judge's chambers. It reminds me of something that probably would have happened in 1985, not 2024, 25, whatever. And this guy standing up is Sheriff Mickey Steins, okay? His real name is Sean, so if you've heard somebody refer to him as Sean, that's his name, but it goes by Sean Mickey Steins. These two, this happened about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. These two actually went to lunch together that day at the Seaside Grill or some restaurant right down from the courthouse. They actually walked down the sidewalk together and ate lunch together, and this happened shortly after. Nobody seems to know if something happened over lunch or if he was thinking about it the whole time at lunch, but let me see how much this covers. A lot of ones I saw of just the shooting and stuff was kind of blurred out, so let's see what this covers.
And Mickey Steins discussing in the moments before he stood up and fired his weapon. We know from body-worn camera footage that Mickey Steins surrendered his weapon. He didn't resist, and he appeared to be incredibly paranoid.
Now, come on, guys. No, come on now, guys. I'm not sticking nothing. Oh, now.
Easy case because you have the
obviously
sheriff,
the judge is
the top
blurred out.
cop
I'm
in
trying
the
to find a
county,
better
pulling
one.
out his service weapon and shooting the judge.
Hold on here. Let me find one. I want you to actually see it. Yeah. Hey, Carl, what's up, man? Hey, Sasquatch took a beating from that little dude. I loved every minute of it. There's been a lot of speculation, Brian. Anything from Sheriff Steins' daughter was caught up in the courthouse brothel that was covering. A lot of people said there was a courthouse brothel, which you all heard somebody talk. Icon talked about the Pink Flamingo the other night. It's all on YouTube. It's already on there. Court TV has showed it 1,000 times. I'm just trying to find the actual. They actually. I'll go through and. All right, here.
At the time, there were.
This don't show a lot, but this shows a little bit more than the other one. You kind of use your imagination.
Of murdering Judge Kevin Mullins, and his daughter is now speaking out. This video here shows him shooting Kevin Mullins to death in the judge's office a year ago.
Shot him one right there.
At the time, there were rumors and some statements in the courtroom.
Again.
That led people to believe that this had something to
Again.
do with Stein's underage daughter.
And I think, hold on, I think he does it again before leaving the door. It used to be unblurred all over the internet, Jay. Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping she can explain to us. She's followed this case she was at the courthouse that day it happened, Mr. Happy. But let me see if they go back to the courthouse.
Last month, a detective revealed that Mullins did not have any sort of relationship with Stein's daughter. And now, for the first time, we're hearing from 18-year-old Lila Steins.
Hold on a minute. But just like, hold Okay, here's another. I think that right there is a picture of the last time that he shot. But I want you to look. He has shot him probably 6, 7 times by now. Wouldn't you think there'd be some blood in the courthouse? I mean, I'm asking, is it possible? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't share the screen. Hold on. Sorry. Thanks, John Boy. All right, this is what I'm saying right here. This is probably the last one, because you see he's opened the door. There were actually people outside, and right across that little hallway, there was another room. There was actually people in there. Lunch had just finished. I think the judge had another case or so later on. He was still in his robes, you saw. But here's my question. And maybe I'm wrong. I've never fired a weapon before in my life. Not even hunted, not even done any of that. But don't you think there'd be some kind of bloodshed? You can even see somewhat underneath of his desk. You know what I'm saying? Let me see what goes on here.
The issues here with the minor. It doesn't mean that it's that what everybody jumps to the conclusion of is that somehow there was some inappropriate relationship between the judge and this minor child.
Oh, they stopped it before, yeah. But, okay. She may have it recorded. She may be able to show it that's not blurred. I've seen it unblurred 1,000 times. Not really. You don't have to see blood. Okay. I've just thought if a guy got shot 9 times, there'd be a pretty good chance that there was, there'd be blood. Depends on caliber, body thickness, and angle of projectile. Okay. See, I didn't know a lot about it. When I first watched that, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, like, this guy, I mean, he's been peppered. I'm hoping that she has found out more information now, because like that news story was from like maybe, it's like, hold on, I'll tell you. 10 months ago. So almost a year. It was a service weapon, Jay. I don't know what kind of service weapon the sheriff of Letcher County would carry. I would say some kind of a Glock maybe. But, just me not being familiar with that case, pew-pews, sometimes they will block you for saying that G word. 9mm, okay. I just thought, anytime somebody were to get hit 9 times, there would likely be some blood. But even when I saw it unblurred and stuff, but it's become a pretty big deal in Letcher County. Like I said, the defense attorneys fought for a change of venue because they didn't think he'd be able to get a fair trial in Letcher County. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if he'd been able to get a fair trial either way. He's going to have potential friends and supporters that may be on the jury. I doubt you'd be able to find 12 jurors that would all be for him, or 12 jurors that would all be against him. They have, and if you go look this case up, you saw bits and pieces from the first video when he was sitting down. They were trying to take him to the Sally Port. He sat down at a chair. He kept saying, come on, guys, come on, guys, come on, guys. Basically what he says is he's afraid to leave. He says, I'm not going to make it out of here alive. If I leave this building, they're shooting me, basically is what he was thinking. And when you watch him, he was really paranoid. He had known those officers and state troopers for a really long time. He'd worked with them, but he just seemed really, really paranoid, and they're going with an insanity defense. And the last thing I'd heard was that they had a doctor or an expert come in and test him, I think, but the state of Kentucky, or the state, they wanted to hire their own. What strict gun laws go do? It's the sheriff. Guy carries a gun everywhere he goes. But that kind of gives you kind of a heads up on what possibly, that's what the case is about. That's what she's covered. She's made her whole channel about it. To be quite honest, she's 26,000 subscribers from basically that. I mean, she covers different things now, but 26,000 subscribers basically from that case. So she does a good job covering it. I consider her probably an expert. She was at the courthouse the day that it happened. She's probably going to be at the courthouse again. In Letcher County, I'd say when it goes to trial. All right, this is Matt Norlander. You all know Matt Norlander, right? Here's what Matt Norlander says about Mark Mitchell. Norlander says, Kentucky fans wondering on Mark Mitchell. I'm told he did not sign any type of proper NBA contract, Exhibit 10, for example. Theoretically, this should keep him eligible per the Kentucky judge's TRO. Keep in mind, that case is not closed and the NCAA is still fighting it. Then Big Blue Rando, who does the Heavy Pour Sports, he says, is Mark Pope the only one out there telling his guy to sign a contract just in case? So, all I don't know. All right. So that'll she'll either be on Thursday or Sunday. We've already talked about that. Mark Maggard says that he believes that the TRO put in place by the court protects them, and they would be allowed to intra-conference transfer rule. They would be allowed to get past that. Now, I don't know anything different, but that's what Mark Maggard said. So I knew that the TRO kind of protected them as far as being eligible or being able to sign, but all right. Before I go, make sure I covered everything that I wanted to. Be sure to like the show. Let me make sure the likes have gone up. All right, we've jumped up a little bit, only to 38. There's still some people in here that have yet to do it. Jackson Kohler did not sign a Exhibit 10, Carl. He agreed to one but never signed it. So he will be eligible as well. Hey, Summer League games don't matter, Carl, because you can be on a Summer League team and not be on a roster or sign a contract. So Summer League doesn't really have anything to do with it. You know what I'm saying? So I actually thought the Summer League too. Very little. But Carl, I saw your comment. I actually think Jay Money beat Tennessee Cornbread myself. I thought he got the best of him. I don't think Tennessee Cornbread had his best fight. He looked very, I don't know, he didn't look as quick and aggressive as he normally does. My boy Little Smokey came back, got him a win. Macho time. Got him a big win. I'm glad Macho finally got him a win. That poor boy was struggling. Leo Zarkian? That will probably cause a vacated season if Kentucky goes against the NCAA. They vacated teams' wins for less. Now, that has crossed my mind. I would hope they wouldn't, but I'm not gonna lie, that's crossed my mind. And Leo, thanks for stopping by. I'm not for sure if you've been here before. If not, please subscribe. If you have, appreciate you coming by. Hit that like button. Yeah, I'm happy, but I think we're gonna get to keep him. I don't think that's gonna be a problem. Yeah, I've driven by there a couple times. I'll be back in. Jay Batt wasn't going to go against. If it's 15-0, he's not going against. And listen, I don't think you can fault Jay Batt. Jay Batt probably knew with the rules they were putting in place that Mitchell was going to be eligible regardless. I'm serious. I'm tired of these guys going to the pros, finding out they don't have a guaranteed contract, maybe not make it, and go back and make triple that in college. Oh, that's a good take. That's a good take. Right, I get it, but no, I don't. They're not going to listen. NCAA better mind their P's and Q's. A couple of these Power 5 conferences break away for the NCAA. Hell, they start their own mega conference and they put the NCAA out of business. The NCAA has already said they won't. I know Greg Sankey said that he let him know what he could possibly do. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're all going to be eligible, and I think they'll go. It's just 1 year. It's just 1 year. Next year, they all get 5 for 5. So you've already made it a complete and utter shit show this year. You know what I'm saying? You've already made it a complete and utter shit show. So why not just go ahead and let it rest this year? Then next year, everybody knows what rules you're playing by. You get 5 years to play 5 and go with it from there. I understand why. Go Cats, stay hot. The unholy trinity. I might make a shirt with those 3 pictures, call it the unholy trinity. I like that. Exactly. I might do that, Holly. The unholy trinity. And believe me, with the money UK brings in, they don't want UK to go independent. But, I mean, I don't think they should be allowing pros to play, Peanut. But I think everybody in this class of 22 deserves a 5th year of eligibility if everybody before them and everybody after them gets it. I think it shows some kind of unfair treatment. What I'm totally against is this tight end that played for the Browns coming back, committing to LSU. You got that running back who was a Seahawk. And I don't care if he's going to Kentucky or not. If you played for a professional franchise, you don't need to be coming back and playing just because you may not make the professional roster. Oh, they've got multiple people from overseas, Carl. Multiple. They just signed one today from Israel. That's what I'm saying. Play hardball. Like I said, I'm trudging along as if Mark Mitchell's our starting power forward until I hear otherwise. Everybody in the national media probably know more than I know about it. Rothstein, Matt Norlander, and that other guy, Kevin something from College Basketball Report, they've all said Mitchell's eligible based on the procedure they've put in place. Yeah, Notre Dame probably don't have to abide by any of these. I don't think. I don't know. All right, with that being said, I made my new shirts. They come in black font and white font. I put them in position order. If this is something you're interested in, I've already bought the blue one. For 2 more days, I think it's 33% off. You can get it for $16 instead of $24, which I think $16 for a t-shirt is pretty cheap. And I'll be honest with you, I've got my Stay Hot one on tonight. Feels really good, and honestly, the quality's pretty good. the quality's pretty good. So, and I even left off the Stay Hot logo on this one here because I mean, I got this obviously off the John Calipari shirt when he had all the 5 freshmen coming in with DJ, Reed, Rob, and that bunch. I thought that was a cool idea for a shirt, and I think this is the best roster Pope's ever had while he's been at coach. Definitely the best roster at Kentucky. The last thing I'm going to say is this. I've seen a lot of people saying expectations are now Final Four. So does that mean if we don't make the Final Four, it's a failure of a season? I don't like placing expectations like Final Four because you all have seen it at the NCAA now. The best team doesn't always win. It takes one bad night now. One bad night. Just several years ago, remember Florida Atlantic and Florida Atlantic, San Diego State, they were both in the Final Four. I mean, so I hate to say that, you know, Kentucky has a failure of a season if they don't make the Final Four. So to me, those expectations would be unrealistic. Now, do I think we have a Final Four national championship contending roster? Yes. But high expectations like that almost set you up for failure. Almost set you up for failure. And the team that comes to mind for me is the team with Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker, Tyler Ulis, Twins, where we went 38-1 and lost that game to Wisconsin in the Final Four. We didn't go 40-0, didn't win a national championship. Yeah, we made the Final Four, but I've heard some people act as if that team there wasn't successful because they didn't win a national championship when they were clearly the best team in college basketball. But what about those years like in 2014 when we were an 8th seed, we wasn't the best team in college, and we still made the finals? You know, I mean, it's so hard to win 6 games in a row at this level. So hard. So I don't like the idea that people are saying Final Four or bust. And I've seen some media people doing it. I've seen some podcast people doing it. I've seen some YouTube presentation shows doing it. I just don't like it. Anytime you put those kind of expectations on, you're adding so much. Because anything you say on social media, these kids are seeing. Michael Moreno talked about that. I do believe that, you know, we definitely, it's all right for us to say second weekend, Sweet 16, Elite 8, that should definitely be, but Final Four, that's tough. Because to get to the Final Four, you're going to have to beat a couple good teams. Then once you get to the Final Four, you're going to have to beat another really good team in the top half of that bracket. We can't rely on the bracket always opening up. I mean, just think about it. Think of how good Duke was when they had Zion Williamson. I think Duke may have been the best team the year they had Cooper Flagg and Con Knippel, and they didn't win it all. UConn last year was really good. Now, I think Michigan may have been the best team. I think Michigan may have been the best team all last year as a whole, but UConn pretty good. Andrew played in the TBT with the La Familia team and that went to the finals this year. Andrew had a really good tournament, but a really bad finals game. Struggled. Aaron just had a baby and had a recovering from an injury, so he didn't get to play in the TBT. But those guys are all getting old, man. Go out, compete, play hard every single game, and let the chips fall where they must. If you go out and you play hard every single game and you leave it all out there on the floor, I seem to think that things are going to take care of themselves. If both teams are playing as hard as they possibly can, the more talented team's going to win. And there's only going to be a couple teams that I think have a more talented roster than Kentucky, although I think Kentucky's in the ballpark. Kentucky's in the conversation. Nobody has us in our Final Four right now because they're still waiting on a lot of stuff with Mitchell. They're not going to put us too high, then have to move us all the way back if he were to end up not playing. We're going to be a top 7, 8 team. Oh, Brian, don't even talk about that. Oh, talking about a poor shooting exhibition. Yeah, Aaron just got married and may have just had a kid maybe. And, yeah, Andrew's still playing. Yeah, Willie's getting old. Willie had said this was going to be his last TPD. But honestly, I think he's come out with something since then that makes you think that it's possible he could come back. He also has a new YouTube channel. It's along the lines of, I think it's called Willie Tries Shit, where he goes out and tries different things and records them. So he's got a new channel where he's going out and try all kinds of silly stuff. They've got the channel made, but I don't know if they've launched any videos yet. But it's called Willie Tries Shit. But no, I've got the, I don't have to go over all the ways to support. You know all the ways to support, whether it be the Super Chats, the memberships, whether it be the likes, the shares, the subscriptions. But if you are interested in purchasing a shirt, this is still, let me find it here. This is still my favorite shirt. Hold on, let me bring this one down. This one up. The Let Pope Cook. Just something about the font, the size. That's still my favorite shirt. So I've put the link in the chat. If you're interested in a shirt, let me know. Or don't let me know. Just you can go online and order your own shirt. But I really like. You know, when I says black on white, you can get a whole variety of colors. I just put it on white because it showed up easiest. I'd like to see the black on the royal blue. I think that might look cool too. Yeah, hey, what about Elijah playing ball? Elijah played some 3-on-3 with Kerr Kriisa. Elijah Burns that comes on the show every once in a while, that's on the show right now with BBN Unfiltered. He posted something about sitting there playing, and then next thing you know, he looks up and there's Kerr Kriisa. So need to make a shirt that says Kentucky is Louisville's daddy. I can do that. I'll work on that. If tomorrow I'm gonna work on making kind of like cartoon characters of. I'm gonna make cartoon characters of Kim Mulkey, Will Wade, and Kiffin, and call it the Unholy Trinity. And I'll make a donation to Holly once I sell the first 20. I've done pretty decent in the store, considering I make my own designs and stuff, so I've been kind of pleased with that. Who's your daddy? That's right. Toby Keith would ask, who's your daddy? Or who's your baby? Pope with Pat Kelsey in a headlock. Oh, that'd be easy to do. There's so many pictures out there of that. And put, Kentucky on top, or Kentucky is Louisville's daddy, and show Pope putting Pat Kelsey in a headlock. Yeah, I can do that. But with that being said, damn it, got to work again tomorrow. I hate this work stuff. Whoever said that was fun. Although I do know they say that if you enjoy your job, you never work a day in your life. And I can say this honestly, after 25 years, I still enjoy doing it. Or after 24 years, I'm starting my 25th now. I did start open gym today, so I got in the gym with some of my basketball girls that don't play volleyball or soccer. I have quite a few that play both volleyball and soccer. So we still had 9 or 10 in the gym working, getting better. I can't remember who, which one, Jay, the Pope and Kelsey, Pope having Kelsey in a headlock. But with that being said, I can't remember who asked me if we had any games in Lexington this year. We don't play in Lexington, but we play in Bourbon County. We may even play in Paris, which are just right outside of Lexington. My administration, after the debacle last year at Henry Clay, they didn't want me going back to Lexington. Man, Brian, you're stingy. All I do for you, and you can't be a 99-cent a month member and only want to pay $1. Only want to pay $1 for a shirt. Oh, I don't know what kind of copyright that would be, Jay. I might be able to make it different to where it's not a copyright, but that might be copyright. I could maybe dress Mark Pope up in the Wildcat mascot head, but no, that would probably still be pushing it. I was looking at BBN Unfiltered. Like Kentucky's all-time record against Louisville or Pope's all-time record against Kelsey, because that's 1-1. We better do Kentucky's all-time record against Louisville. Or I may make a scoreboard and put Kentucky like 30-something, Louisville 12. You know, something on the scoreboard just to show what the all-time wins are. So, Louisville, Daddy Spanks. Or what if I have Mark or Pat Kelsey sitting on Mark Pope's lap? I got you. I'll see what I can do. That's, you know, I'll see what I can do. Did they make up? Did they really? I didn't know that. I haven't talked to either one of them. Technically, Connor, with to be honest with you, with I didn't put their last names. That could be, I mean, that could be anybody. I didn't put a Kentucky logo on there either. So I don't think it's on. I think T Public would have scratched it if it was. You know, I've made some things that they've pretty well told me I needed to change, or you know, they wouldn't put it up, and they put that up, so I wouldn't think it would be much at all. Okay. Wow. I figured they might end up making up because I know they like to go on each other's show a lot. So, I'm not sure. Connor, for Connor.mp3. If you're new here, give me a subscribe, man. If you're not, give me a like. Appreciate you coming by. I always like to have new people enter the chat. I'll tell you here in a minute, Holly. I'll tell you. But, Connor, what would be any different than having Mark Pope's name on a shirt? Let Pope cook. I don't have any of the UK copyrighted logos or anything. What? Where's the beef? Or what? Is that what you're talking about? All right, so last thing is I'll tell you about the beef between Austin and Chris. Maybe. I'm sure his name, but not sure. Honestly, I'll ask, but I've had T Public take down shirts before, so it's still up there, but let me ask. Like I said, I didn't put any logos or anything, but I will ask, you know, with much attention because I've had him do it before. All right, so the night that Kentucky football had their meet the team night, I guess Elijah, Chris, Austin, all of them went to it or whatever. I don't know if Austin did, but I know Elijah did, and I know Chris did. I don't think they went together. I just think they were both there. When they came home that night, Elijah and Austin did a show talking about the meet the team, and I watched the show. I noticed that honestly, as long as you don't use the copyrighted logos or whatever, I think you'd be okay. I really do. But, you know, that's just me. Don't take legal advice from me. But I've, like I said, I've had shirts struck before from T Public, and they didn't strike those shirts, so I just kind of kept it up. And if they do, I'll just take them down. And, you know, I'm not trying to get rich off of them, nor am I trying to steal anybody's. It's $2 a shirt that I think I get, so you know I'm not making $1 million. So when Elijah came home that night, either they were at Elijah's house or they went to Austin's house. It was obvious that Elijah had been drinking. He was drinking bourbon like he did that night on our show. I thought the show was pretty good, but Elijah made a couple mistakes. He referred to Lance Hurd as a linebacker. Austin asked him a couple questions about Lance Hurd. He says, is he afraid to hit people? Oh, no, he'll lay you out flat. You know, just kind of spoke about him as a linebacker. And I knew right then and there, I didn't comment in the chat or nothing. I just thought, you know, okay, everybody makes mistakes. You know, it happens. And then later on, he was talking about our center. Colton Price, and he said that he was a center, really good, but he said he only weighed 250 pounds. Well, to be a center in the SEC, you're over 300 for sure. Well, he's like 308. So he made a couple in what I would consider minor mistakes, but yet he made some mistakes. Chris did a show the next day, basically saying that his fans have reached out to him asking about the podcast, if he had watched it, if he saw the mistakes, and I guess Chris watched it. Chris did a show on it. He basically was, I thought, I don't know Chris like Austin. I don't know Chris like Elijah. But from when I watched Chris's podcast, I thought Chris was honestly trying to help Elijah. He basically said, do your research. The BBN is a very unforgiving fan base. If you're going to make mistakes like that, they're either going to quit listening or call you out. All right. But Chris said he felt like he had a responsibility to help him out or call him out or however you want to look at that or whatever. Well, I guess Austin got upset that Chris made a podcast about it or a show about it, calling him out. And they went back and forth with videos and words. It was on Facebook. If you, I think if you followed Austin or Chris, you could find it or whatever. Honestly, I think they're both two pretty good content creators. I like Austin. He's helped me a lot. He's always answered questions. He's had me on his show. I've had him pop in here. I've not been on Chris's show or Chris hasn't been on mine, but I've done the mega podcast with Chris. I enjoyed talking to him that night. I've actually watched a lot of his shows on YouTube since. I think he's very knowledgeable. Now, he doesn't always say what the fan base wants him to say, or he doesn't always say what he thinks is the politically correct thing to say. And at some point in time, you have to admire people like that this day and age, because so many people are always trying to say what people want them to hear. And that's why I've said that, you know, I will always say what I feel, you know, thinking realistic. You know, that's why I said I think Kentucky only wins 4, maybe 5 football games. Just because we get on here and talk about Kentucky, I'm not going to say, oh, they're going to go 12-0 or they're going to win 10 football games, because I don't think that. But I don't think Chris had any ill intentions behind it, because if you remember right before that, I think Chris and Austin were going to do a show together. They'd called it, I don't remember what they called it, but they were already going to do a show together. But I think they went a week or so with taking shots and jabs at each other online. Hopefully they called each other, met in person, had a drink, talked it out, and I'm glad to hear they're fine now. But there for a while, Clyde even made a video and telling Austin he was being a little petty. I saw it, but just when you're in our world, and you all know this, but like as content creators, if you're hosting a show every week, most people that do this that are really, really serious about it, they don't want somebody to critique them. They don't want somebody to take information. Why do you think so many people want to be insiders? Because they want to say they had information before you did. And I will never, ever tell you I'm an insider, because I'm not. Chris and Elijah and Austin have way, way more sources than I do. Okay? Way more sources than I do. I'm not saying their sources are always accurate, but they have way more than I have. And I'm okay with that. Like I said, I support all. I still watch Van House's show at night. I'll watch BBN Unfiltered later on tonight that they did tonight with Elijah. I'll watch the Catechin. I watch all of them I can. They all are better than me at something. I can watch their show and learn something. Now, I try to incorporate a lot of different things, maybe some comedic value. I try not to take the job too serious. One of the funniest things I think I've ever done, and if you're a wrestling fan, you know where this... You all have seen that real one, right? I think it was actually Shane McMahon or somebody running to the ring. But, some people take things seriously. Some people like to take everything to heart. Some people like to take things personal. If I did something wrong or made a mistake, I would want the content creator to probably text me, call me up and say, hey, man, then if they say, hey, you mind if I do a show about it? I'd probably say, no, go ahead. It wouldn't bother me, because if somebody came at me, I'd probably go back at them. And you know what gets more clicks than Kentucky? Drama. I don't want it. I'm not going to be in the middle of it, but I don't run away from it either. I'm not going to shy away from it. That's why I've hired Doug Fahrenheit, to bring something different to the show that really nobody else is doing. That's why I've creating more videos. That's why this video here, although, I was waiting for somebody to say something, I kind of did it on purpose, because Doug don't really understand technology. Doug doesn't really understand computers. No, his mouth and his hand expressions don't match up to the words.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everybody who has ever yelled at a television like the coach could actually hear you. Welcome to the Stay Hot podcast. I'm Doug Fahrenheit, your official temperature checker. I tell you how hot today's show is going to be, but legally, the fire marshal has asked me to stop making predictions. Around here, we don't do lukewarm opinions. Lukewarm is for gas station coffee and relationships you're trying to quietly get out of.
How true is that? Lukewarm is for relationships that you're quietly trying to get out of. Raise your hand if you've been there before, or gas station coffee. But, I knew also that if I created Doug Fahrenheit, and now all the stuff that Doug says, I write my own. I may get some ideas through Chat GPT, but I'll sit there and write out the one-liners and things like that. But I knew that I couldn't be copyrighted if I created that. I knew I couldn't be copyrighted. On my 100th show, all I did was play that Ric Flair video for 30, 40 seconds, and they got flagged. So that's why I've tried to do something differently than what most people do, because I don't want to do the same every single thing that everybody else is doing. I hope at some point in time you've heard Doug Fahrenheit and you've thought, oh, that was pretty witty, or that's pretty funny, or, hopefully he brings an element to the show or something that you all don't have anywhere else. Looks like, listen, I went back and looked again, and now they may have patterned that voice after Steve Harvey. I get it. It is an AI voice site. I'm not going to lie, it is an AI site. But all I typed in was 70s, middle-aged, male voice. And that was the first one that popped up. I clicked on it, and what I did was I typed in something to make sure they could say my name correctly. because there's nothing more frustrating when somebody's trying to say your name and they can't pronounce your name. So once I typed in my name, he said it correctly. I'm like, okay, I'll just go with this voice. I didn't even look at any of the others. Honestly, I did look at a female voice because I got something in the works, but it's a voice that I'm not familiar with. Elijah is constantly overzealous and puts out false information, so he gets rightfully clowned for it. He's so focused on being first that actually, you know, and I've heard other creators talk about this as well. You know, just like with the whole assistant coach, pretty well doubling down that, you know, Mark Pope was going to hire Mo Williams and Jamal Crawford. I've heard a lot of different content creators, you know, get on him about that, but I'm not getting on anybody. I don't feel like it's my place. I support. I'm a cheerleader. If Austin has a show tomorrow and it's his 100th show, I'll watch. I'm going to support. I hope all the other people are supporting my channel the same way I support theirs. I don't know if they are. There's no way for me to find out. Honestly, he's the one that went live at 9:30 tonight when I always do 9:30. But there is no rule saying he can't. That may be the best time to work with Elijah. I know Elijah's a college student. Maybe Elijah had class, whatever. So I'm not mad about him. So if he goes at 8:30, then I'm going to try to go earlier. It seems like, honestly, if you want to know the truth, last show we did, of course, with Mark on, we got over 1,200 views. Obviously, most of that's Mark. But I have noticed, too, that if I start at 8:30, I tend to get more people on than if I start at 9:30. So a lot of people probably go to bed a lot earlier. We had as many as, I think we had up to like 95 on here. When I started talking about true crime, we obviously lost some that went over to BBN Unfiltered, which is okay, I'm not hating on them people at all. But I will go look and see if they're still online and how things are going. Because I still got 60 people in here. Let me see if I can go find BBN Unfiltered. Because I was looking in their chat. They finished 10 minutes ago, and honestly, if they finished 10 minutes, it said they had 92 views. So that means in the whole, I don't know how long they were on. Oh, an hour. They're on an hour. So the whole hour, you know. So that's a good show, 92 views. So they probably had 90 some online. So I will always go support the other Kentucky. I will always go support the other Kentucky shows. And I hope you all do as well. If you don't catch me live, it'll always be here in the replay. Will Kentucky wear the denims this year? I don't think so. I noticed that Denzel Aberdeen took his with him instead of the freshest jersey he's ever worn. But that's the way I do it, Joe. I try to catch BBN Unfiltered. I try to catch the Catechin. Of course, I catch Locked on Kentucky. I try to watch all of them. I really do. Right. If he was really AI, people would be crazy for thinking that. He's as real as you or me. Oh, well, that means a lot, Holly. I appreciate that. I do. But like, and I don't know how the views work that's live, because I'll explain it to you. So the other night when Mark Maggard was on, we did a 3-hour show, and I think the most I had online at one time was like 140 at one time. But when I got offline and I refreshed, it said I had like 470 views. So I don't know if that means somebody came on, and if they stayed so long and then left, then I still got the view for it, but yet I don't know. So I don't really know how long, because that number that shows me how many people are online, it goes up and down. So if somebody leaves, like for example, it says 64 people are online right now. It was up to 95. 51 are online through YouTube and 13 are online through Twitter. I have nobody watching my show on Facebook. which I don't get. I don't have near as many people on Facebook that are sports minded. The people that are on Facebook that would watch this show are probably in the chat. I can't wait to do my show live from the Drunken Mallard. Dude, you're cool as hell. The Drunken Mallard was on my show. One of the first shows I ever did is the Stay Hot podcast. This guy had the greatest job in the world. I'm actually taking up and say I still watch the shows. I actually take up for you. But the Drunken Mallard is he lives in Cincinnati, but for 4 years he had the coolest job in the world. And I don't know if I've ever told you all this. He was the Reds mascot. He was Mr. Red. The stories he can tell is unreal. The stories he can tell are unreal. You get many different views and information, opinions from different perspectives and people. Listen, that's right. Like I said, of course, I have a very flexible job that allows me that I get some time on lunch, breaks, whatever, that I can tune into a show. But I will always watch the Kentucky podcast. Always. BBN Unfiltered. I've been watching a lot of Chris Adams's, but he don't put much on YouTube. A lot of his are on TikTok, and I don't have TikTok. So he may only put like an 8-minute video, and Chris doesn't do lives. So he may do like an 8-minute video and not, like a live show. I love the Cadigan. Of course, Locked on Kentucky. Then I like Sources Say. Any of those shows with Jack Pilgrim and Zach and Stephen Peak. I love all those shows. But kind of like when I'm telling you what it is all of these guys do something better than I do. And if I can get better each week, each month, whatever, and it makes my show better, then we all benefit. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are some people that are way better speakers than I am. They don't have the brain lapses for 5-second pauses. They don't have the or the way they produce a show. Sometimes their layouts, their backgrounds, their layovers, all that stuff. You can learn, if you're willing to learn, you can learn a lot from everybody. It doesn't matter. Very few of us are getting paid millions of dollars to do this. Me, however, I won't make $1 million in my lifetime from my real job and this one. So, and this ain't a job. This is fun. This is a hobby. But Dark, I mean, and that's what I've said though. Like, and I said it earlier, like, I can't sit here and say that I have sources because I don't. Everything I learn is the people I trust on social media. And there are people that you learn to trust and learn not to trust. There's things that Elijah told me months ago that came true. Okay? There's things that Crash have told me that have come true. I know the people that I trust on X and Twitter. But if you're an insider, I think you miss too. Like I told you all that when we was talking about the Meet the Team. I said Austin, Elijah, and Chris, they all have more sources than I'll ever dream of. If they hear something, it's probably close. Or they heard it from a person who didn't know. I think it's almost like saying every coach whiffs. Every media person, every broadcaster, just anybody in the media, they all get things wrong. It happens. I've watched ESPN and have people say names of the professional athletes wrong. Not pronouncing wrong, say the wrong name. We're human. We all make mistakes. I hope you all don't crucify me every time I make a mistake, because I make a lot of them. No, I'm just saying, no. Oh, you're probably talking to Austin there. That Mr. Red interview you did was insanely. Listen, I didn't have the audience I had now. Maybe I'll talk to the Drunken Mallard. Listen, go to thedrunkenmallard.com. Look at, he's got a book that's out. This man travels around and visits Irish pubs. Some of you can probably relate to that because you all probably have attended a few Irish pubs. You probably like Irish pubs. He does that, and he wrote a book about it. And the book was called, it's The Drunken Mallard's the website. So take a look at that. I mean, next time I see the Drunken Mallard, I have a gift for him. I bought him a gift after he came on my show, and I've not seen him yet to give it to him. So I'm hoping I get to do that. I've done nothing but try to help promote anyone and everyone. You have 100%. And I'm telling you, I still tell you, the Mega Podcast has a place in this world, and I think it can be really, really good. I believe you. Listen, I'm trying. I will always try to get better. You know, I will always try to get better. But, you know, it's obvious I'm growing a little bit. I get 1 or 2 new subscribers every couple of days. I just recently, I was griping about being stuck on like 820 something. Now I'm up to 859. So, you know, it is what it is. Now, that's a very good point. That's a very good point. Yeah, because I pay a hefty price monthly for StreamYard. I don't have the free edition, so I'm definitely losing money. But, you know, Austin, I don't think that's why we do it. I don't think we do it for the money. Obviously, YouTube, unless you've got 50,000, 100,000 subscribers and are getting 10, 15,000 views every show or whatever, you know. Now, do I think the BBN fan base has it in them to get that big? Absolutely. I just don't know how many of them know to check YouTube for a show. People are going to critique you when you put your show out. Yeah, it is. It's the world we live in. I've told you all that time and time again where Crash told me we were getting Milan Momcilovic on a Thursday. His sources told him. He shared it with me. I talked about sharing it on the show. We did. I was confident. I'm like, it's a done deal. He's a cat. It's a done deal. Thursday night comes, no commitment. Friday comes, no commitment. By Saturday morning, my inbox was hitting pretty full. Calling me you lying SOB, that's how come I'm going to unfollow you because you spread misinformation. I can't trust you. And I'm like, damn, okay. So then after a few of them, when he did commit on Monday, I just messaged him and said, okay, maybe a few days late, y'all coming back now? And I didn't get a reply. So, and some of them I've seen in the chat, other no. Listen, and I will say this. I think Elijah knows his recruiting. He knows players. I mean, he told me a while ago that Louis Uvo was being on an official visit. He thought it might be Big Blue Madness. Today, he said September 12th. I think the Alabama game is a very good game for him to come on campus because I think he's going to see a Kroger field that's rocking. And when the Kroger field's rocking, don't come a knocking. You know, Elijah's been on this show several times talking about recruiting. I always ask him about the 27s and 28s. I definitely believe that he knows it better than I do. Well, and I mean, Clyde, I don't think it's really about what you say. You can have a difference of opinion. Sometimes it's how you say it. You know, it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say. And sometimes your aggressive approach, the same thing could be said a lot differently. That would be no problems. Listen, I want Polacek in the ring. I want him in the ring. Redneck brawl. Redneck brawl. Dark Pope, why are you so worried? What goes on BBN Unfiltered with Elijah? I think all these guys are great. You know, listen, I'm going to say things that are wrong when games start. I know I'm going to mess something up. You know, probably mess up something tonight, and I just ain't realized it yet. The one thing I do not do, I do not go back and watch my own shows. I don't like to hear myself talk on the internet. I don't like the way my voice sounds. So I'd never go back and watch my own. Now, I will watch another person's show multiple times to make sure I got information correct before I'll watch my own. You know, I've watched Alston and Coach's show sometimes more than once when they're talking about something that I don't know about. Man, I can't wait to give you this gift I bought. I can't. I mean, don't get your hopes up. Like I didn't spend a paycheck or nothing, but I think you'll like it. I got to get down to the Mallard, man. I got to get down there. What he did was he turned his, I think, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he turned his basement into like a pub. His book's called, if I remember, Stepping Foot in Every Irish Pub in America, maybe, if I remember correctly. He just recently got it published, I know. But the Drunken Mallard, man, we probably need to go down there sometime, get a couple of you guys together, and I'll get a hold of him. And if y'all like that stuff, like Irish pubs, it'd probably be it's just a great vibe, man. This dude is laid back and chilled, and he can tell you some stories. You know, some of the stories he told me about some of the people affiliated with the Reds kind of broke my heart. I'm not going to lie, but also, man, I appreciate you as always. I really do. Hopefully we can get another mega podcast going soon. Maybe during football season after a big win or something, maybe on a post game. Well, I don't want to know if you want to do a mega on a post game, but there's plenty of time for it. You know, I thought it was great. I loved being on with different content creators. I think we all do different shows. We're all different personalities. So listen, Jake ain't too far. Jake's from Indiana. Hey, that's all right. Me too. I only cuss sometimes when you all make me. I don't necessarily look at it as bashing. I mean, I know I don't see everybody in the chat. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes my chat moves too fast. I miss comments. And when I have a guest on, like the other day when Mark Maggard came on, I'm not gonna lie, I don't look at the chat at all. I think it'd be disrespectful to him if I focus on the chat 100% while he spoke. So I try to be more respectful to him. So I miss stuff. I don't always see stuff. But there are people out there that love, and I'm not saying it's anybody in here, but I've seen people on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. There are some people that live miserably that aren't happy unless everybody else. Why do you care? I think I'm expressing my opinion. I mean, that's true. But you know, remember, we're all trying to do we're all trying to do the best we can and give a little grace. But you know, Dark Pope, listen, I love you. You're a great member of the chat, but I get it. You know, and that's what I've said to you all the time. When I say something, just remember, if you don't agree with it, that's fine. Disagree civilly, and we'll discuss it, and we'll go on. I think sometimes there's a way to handle things instead of automatically blowing up. And I'm not saying you did that. I'm just saying in general, sometimes we all lose our I don't want to say mind, but we all kind of lose our cool sometimes. And, you know, I'm not saying we're ever going to have a day where things are 100% perfect, because it's not going to happen. And I'm not going to be afraid to, you know, if me and Austin's on a show together and he gives a take that I disagree with it, I feel like I could disagree respectively and we could have a discussion about it. I think discussion where two people disagree or agree, as long as you handle it right, I think it's good content. I think it's good content. Clyde, I'm considered an expert in autism because that's what I've taught and that's what the classes I'm in. And they may be part of your disability, but they're not an excuse for poor behavior. There you go. That's what I'm talking about. You know, I appreciate that. Elijah's only given me information once or twice, but it was on recruits, and it was good information. Clyde reaches out to me a lot more often and gives me things, and Clyde's right. He, you know, and I think I've said this before, but I was the one that jumped the gun. I was the one that said it was a done deal. I don't even know if Clyde used the words done deal in his message to me. However, I think when Clyde told me, I felt like Clyde had told me things before that were true and legit. So what I did was I took it upon myself to say that it was a done deal. And I guess when I said done deal, my chat thought that done deal meant that it was coming now. And when it didn't, yeah. It was my fault. It was my fault. I agree. Delivery is everything. I agree. Look at my man Paxton coming through with the super chat. You my man. I forgot to put up. Do players still get? I would think there's some kind of wording in their contract that would. I don't think we're going to have anybody ineligible. Listen, Elijah, I just talked about this. I told them that, you had talked and mentioned that you thought maybe Big Blue Madness, but I actually think the Alabama game may be a better environment. I think when Alabama comes to Kentucky in week 2, I believe that place is going to be rocking. It's going to be hyped. The atmosphere is going to be off the charts. I've already got a few people in the chat that said they were going to the game. I told them to be polite and pleasant to him, welcome him home, let him know he's at home, and see if we can get that deal signed. These are the 4 teams that are on UVWO. Elijah, is that what you're meaning, that these 4 teams, or what do those 4 teams represent? Baylor, Cal, Kentucky, and Providence. Why is Providence all of a sudden getting in the mix for all these recruits? They got the first couple portal guys I thought we'd get. Oh, those are his 4 scheduled visits. Okay. Because everything I'd heard about him was that Duke was the favorite. But I guess just because those are his 4 lists right now, that doesn't mean that he still doesn't visit Duke. Man. Elijah sold me on this kid. Hey, at practice today, a girl went in for a layup, and one of my posts blocked her, and I just gave out a ha-ha, and I didn't even tell him why I did it, I just ha-ha. So he's definitely on my mind. Providence has jumped up on the scene for sure, and I'm not 100% sure how, but they've definitely piped up. Wow. I got to remember to try to pay attention to Providence this year. I want to see how they do with those players. All right, guys. Like I said, about 10 o'clock when I was getting off here, some of us got to work tomorrow. Although I enjoy what I do, I still have to work. He's told me directly that while they're trying to prioritize him, he told them he would be considering other schools with the roster depth at center at Duke, especially with Boomche, which I don't expect him to be there long, but unless he has to stay 2 years, I don't know what his age is. State Street, baby. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for coming by. Everybody in the chat, I appreciate you all more than you know. I will be on here Thursday. Will be the next night. Probably 8:30 again. I'll check around. If somebody else has something scheduled at 8:30, I may go 9:30. Still trying not to intermingle with any other people's times. But stay humble. Stay hungry. But most importantly, stay hot. Have a good night, guys. Appreciate you all.